Hello everyone and welcome to another incredible game from round 3 of this year's US Chess Championship. It is Wesley versus Sam Shankland. Both of them have already won the US Chess Championship. Wesley, as we know, won it 3 times in 2021, 2022, and in 2017. And Sam won in 2018, ahead of everyone, really, because everyone played. He finished ahead of Fabio, ahead of Wesley, ahead of Hikaru. So, yeah, he can definitely play at the absolute top level. Can he do it again? It's time to see. Wesley coming off a very, very strong victory. He's looking to make it 2.5 out of 3. Let's check it out as we have a very, very sharp line of the Caro-Kann. So pawn to e4 by Wesley. We have pawn to c6 and pawn to d4. We have pawn to d5 and pawn to e5, the advanced variation of the Caro-Kann. Bishop to f5 and pawn to h4. That is most often countered with pawn to h5. I will mention again, because it's a really, really wonderful line, a lot of the time people will play h6. And it's not that it's a game-losing mistake or anything. But it's somewhat easy to exploit. I've learned this on Lotus, and you can go pawn to g4, and after bishop to h7, just go pawn to e6. And if your opponent is not above, let's say, 1900 or maybe 2000, they will collapse instantly here, or maybe even higher rated. I've beaten 2300s even with this. You're gonna go bishop d3, and now everyone is so used to capturing this bishop on d3 that once they do, black can resign. There's nothing black can do to survive this. You're just going to play a knight on f3, queen g6, knight e5, and that is it. Whatever black plays, like knight f6, even knight f3. Now, if captures, you can go queen g6 check, and if not, just knight e5, and that's game over. So it's an easy way to win some quick points. But okay, pawn to h5. This is the top move recommended by the engine, so everyone plays it. But interestingly, h6 is the second top move recommended by the engine. h5, c4. We have pawn to e6 and knight to c3. So pretty standard stuff in the Tal variation against the Caro-Kann. D captures, bishop captures, and knight to d7. We have knight g to e2, bishop to e7, and now g3 and knight g3 are pretty much the only two moves played here. Sometimes they go pawn to a4 to counter b5, but okay. At g3, we have knight to h6 and bishop to f4. We have queen to b6, putting pressure on b2, and castles kingside. It's one of the intricacies of playing against the Caro-Kann. You have to know when to give up the b2 pawn. And while it's not a game-losing mistake to capture this pawn, it was never even attempted. Because if you capture, you just give white a whole lot of development, like bishop d3, you're planning rook b1. Even if black trades here, let's say captures, queen a3, you're still going to go rook a b1. And if knight b6, you're going to go rook b3, queen a6, and now you can just trade queens. And, okay, you can even capture on h6, something like captures, knight e4. You have a monster knight on e4. It's a light square, so black can never get rid of it with a dark square bishop. You've messed up black's pawn structure on the queen side, so those are isolated pawns, and well, we all know what piece loves an isolated pawn. That, of course, is the rook. So white will have a very easy time playing this game, and while it's not lost by force, yeah, black will have a terrible time with this, even though black is up a pawn. But okay, after castles, we have castles queenside. This was never attempted. There were some rook d8 attempts, also bishop to g6 is a known move, but castles queenside is a new move. So already now, as of move 11, we have a completely new game. Now, someone mentioned in the previous video, or maybe the one before that, that they don't really care when a completely new game has been reached. I mean, it's not something that I can avoid saying, as I myself am very, very much interested when a new position has been reached, and it's just I show these games how I would like them to be presented to me. So sorry about that if that's not your thing. But yeah, pawn to a3, now preparing pawn to b4 and pawn to b5, and as we have castles on opposite sides of the board, we know that it's going to be a race. So black will somehow try to attack on the king side. For the moment, it's not easy. You do have firm control of g5 and f6. Also, you can just capture and open up this bishop. So before Sam can play pawn to f6, he first needs to get his king all the way into the corner, and that's exactly what he does. King to b8, we have pawn to b4 and king to a8. Now he can bust open the position, but Wesley strikes first. We have pawn to b5, knight to g4, getting another piece to control that f6 square, and pawn to a4. Now preparing pawn to a5, which you simply cannot allow. So queen to a5, and now Wesley goes b captures on c6. We have b captures and queen to c1, nicely preparing to get rid of everything on the c file and then just gobble up that c6 pawn. So rook to b8, we have rook to d1 and rook h to d8, followed by bishop to a2. Now all that Wesley needs to do is to move the knight, and then he can capture on c6. Time-wise, no one's in time trouble. This is a lot of time for such strong players, so everything is perfectly fine here. And Sam should go bishop to b4, but he went knight to b6, and now he allows Wesley to start a very, very fierce attack. Bishop to g5, which you can counter, with some bishop captures on g5 or even pawn to f6, which is better. Sam goes for pawn to f6. We have captures, captures, and now knight to f4. So from a situation where you had castles on opposite sides of the board, usually you're supposed to have attacks on opposite sides of the board, but there really is no attack happening on the king side. All of the action is for the moment on the queen side. He tries to remedy that by playing pawn to e5. We have knight e6. Let's not forget about our good friend the light square bishop on a2. Bishop captures, we have bishop captures on e6, and rook captures on d4. We have rook captures on d4, e captures, and knight to e2. And now the problem is, how do you play anything here? To give you an example, you go 94. The problem is there's sorry, not 94. If you go queen to c5, which was played in the game, then you can just strike on the queen side. But also, instead of this knight to e2 move, I just wanted to show you what happens if knight to e4 here. The problem is that it's just extremely difficult to calculate, although it's winning by force for Wesley. It's a beautiful line, so I'm going to show it. Point is that how do you defend? Now queen captures on c6 is coming, so king b7, pretty much only move you have. Now you're going to trade on f6, captures, captures, bishop d2, you attack the queen, and after, let's say, bishop to b4, you just trade captures, captures, and a5, and here black resigns. If the knight moves, rook b1 just wins the black queen, and if you go queen e7 to trade, sure, it's not a problem. Captures, captures, b captures on a7, and that's it. You have a passed pawn on a7, of course, completely winning. Rook a8, queen b1, you're going to move, and now whatever, rook a6, queen b6, and it's completely winning for white. So after e captures on d4, knight to e2 was played. Like I said, knight e4 better. Sometimes the hardest move to find is with the knight back, but here the knight should have gone forward. We have queen to c5. The reason for that is that he would very much love to trade queens, but Wesley says, well, I generally don't mind. We will do it on my terms. Plays pawn to a5. And now, while you can trade captures, you get this position where your pawn is hanging and also the knight is hanging. The knight, obviously, the more valuable piece. Where does the knight go? The light square bishop really makes it hard for the knight to move. And then, okay, just knight captures on d4. You can capture on c6 next. Also, the problem is you're fighting against the bishop pair. Your king is in the corner, so once those bishops gain control of these diagonals, it's only a matter of a few moves before you get checkmated. So after a5, we have knight b to d5, and now knight captures on d4. Wesley says, all right, you can have my knight, but then I'm going for checkmate. And it's a pretty cool line. Captures, captures, rook b7, and now bishop captures on f6, and there's nothing you can do. Yeah, you have to do it like this because the rook on a1 is hanging. I know you guys are probably wondering why not a6. So yes, the rook on a1 is hanging. And after anything captures, let's say knight captures, just rook b1. And there's no defending checkmate. You can maybe survive for one more move with bishop b4, but then bishop c8, and that's it. Now you're getting checkmated. So after rook captures on d4, knight to c3, now looking to trick Wesley. Queen captures on d4. Also, if the knight moves knight to e2 check, will win the white queen. And Wesley plays bishop to e3, followed by rook to d8. And now there is nothing more to be done here. But the position is extremely complicated. There is only one move that wins this position for Wesley, and it's a move that Sam missed. Feel free to pause the video and win the game for Wesley. So while I give you a couple of seconds. Believe it or not, the move that wins the game is queen to f1. this is the move that Sam missed. And if you're wondering about some other moves, let's like pawn to a6, then just rook captures on d4. That's really not an issue. And if you play something like knight b3, seems like a good idea. Then we already said a knight to e2 check, and black is back in the game. It's not losing for white. It's still an equal position, because after king to f1, the black queen is hanging as well. So best would be to just play queen captures, bishop captures on c1, and after knight captures, rook captures, something like king b7, you defend the pawn. And okay, white is still a little bit better, but you survive. So queen f1, and now you're probably wondering, but what's the threat? Can't we just capture on d4? Yes, you can, but then queen a6. And the threat is queen to c8 checkmate. And there is a sort of a way for you to survive a little bit longer, knight e2 check, where you can force the queen to capture. But you can also go king f1, and now after queen b5, getting ready to block with queen b8, queen to c8 check, queen b8, queen captures on c6 with check, queen b7, and now you trade and go a6 check, king to c6, and now just king captures on e2. And like I said, the problem is you're fighting against the bishop pair on an open board, so it's merely a matter of getting the bishop over to g2. But also, as soon as the rook moves, you're gonna capture the a7 pawn as well. You're up 2 pawns. You have a passed a pawn. This is, completely winning. So after queen to f1, one last attempt by Sam. He plays knight f to d5, and now comes bishop captures on d5. This is sort of a, he's not allowing Sam back into the game. Rook c1 is the best move here. But in order to counter this, you would have to see so much, and it would still end up being lost. But this is the last big line I'm going to show, because you know me, I only show the most beautiful lines. Knight captures on d5 is the best defense for Sam. But it still fails to rook b1. And now the point is, after knight captures on e3, seems like black is surviving. You have this queen a6 move, threatening mate, and after rook b8, you're going to capture on b8, king captures, and now knight captures on c6 check, king c7, knight captures on e7, queen to c1 with check, king to h2, and now knight to g4 with check, king g2, and now king d7. And there's only one line that wins. So it's an extremely complicated line. That's why I said that Sam missed the best possible defense, because Wesley would have to go through hell to win this. Queen b7 check, king to e8, and now knight f5, threatening check and threatening checkmate on e7. Queen to e1, stopping that mate, and now look at this, knight d6 check. If king f8, then queen f7 is checkmate, and if king to d8, then you have queen c8 check, only move king e7, and queen to e8 check, winning the black queen on e1. So yeah, you would have to work very hard for your meal if knight captures on d5 was played. But Sam played queen captures on d5. He was already down to 16 minutes. He didn't want to invest anymore, and now it's just winning. Queen to a6. How do you defend? Bishop to c5 by Sam, and now knight captures on c6. Now everything piling up on that a7 pawn. Knight captures is the threat, of course. Bishop captures on e3, and now knight captures on d8. You had to give up something in order to survive a little bit. Bishop captures on f2, now already hoping for some sort of a perpetual. King captures, queen to f5 with check, king to g1, queen to c5 with check, king g2, and queen to d5 check, nicely connecting with the knight, but it doesn't matter. King h2, and he was in this position on move 38 that Sam Shankland resigned the game, as there is nothing more to be done here. Once the knight is captured, the knight on c3 also hangs with a simple queen to c6 check, king b8, and queen captures on c3, leaving Wesley up a full rook. So yeah, very, very incredible game, as they say, grace under pressure, if you know what I mean. But yeah, very nicely done by Wesley, and these are the standings after 3 rounds have been played. I don't know, some of you like the standings every round. I don't know. I think they're pointless before, let's say, round 3. But yeah, Wesley on his way to becoming a 4-time U.S. chess champion. Fabio also, on that path. Levon also 2 points, but yeah, for the moment, Wesley leading with 2.5. Sam and Grigori Oparin and Sam Sevian and Wonderling and Hans Niemann and Abhimanyu Mishra with 1.5 points, and with 1 point, Ray Robson and Dario Schwerch and Andy Woodward. Even though he's playing incredible chess, The competition here is fierce, and he's currently on half a point out of 3, but it is a half a point a draw against Fabiano Caruana. So yeah, a lot of you have been asking why is the 5-time U.S. champion Hikaru Nakamura not playing. Who knows? Who knows why he's not playing? He's doing some other stuff. So it's a shame. Everyone would love to see him play. I would love to see him play here. He's definitely one of the favorites to win it. But priorities. So yeah, that's the game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Very nicely done by Wesley. Very much looking forward to what he does in round 4. Who does he face in round 4? Let me just check real quickly. In round 4, Wesley faces Abhimanyu Mishra. So definitely, a matchup everyone is stoked for. Very much looking forward to it. So I hope you enjoyed it. I would like to thank Rukao, Ulrich Thini, Gerard St. Pierre, The Word Weird, and the Brazos Valley Chess Society for your contribution to my channel. Thank you a lot. I really appreciate it. As usual, you can check 2 of my previous videos here. Thank you for watching, and I will see you soon, continuing to check up on your wonderful suggestions and whatever else happens in the chess world. Thank you all. I will see you soon, and have an excellent rest of your day.